No, Mr. Wilson, that's Maggie's. That has not got your name on it. That's definitely got a big M on it.
It's got a big letter B on the back.
No. You can have that one in the middle there. They do look lovely, don't they?
They do. And they taste lovely. Oh, yes. June is one of those amazing months because the focus turns away from seed sowing and from planting out, although there's still some of that to do. But there's a lot of harvest, the first harvest of the new season. So it's only right, really, that we should give you our top tips for the month of June. Hello and welcome back to the No Dig Norfolk Gardener and our garden here in Norfolk. Peas are coming on really lovely, but we have had to make some changes, just for now. We told you about the pigeons not that long ago, and still they're after these. So Mrs. W has temporarily put a bit of netting over the top, just to try and stop them landing here and actually pecking them. And I would like to thank you all for your comments, because I have had several comments about how we might be able to stop the pigeons from going after the peas. And believe you me, we shall try each and every one of them over the next couple of weeks or so, because what we do want is to see these come to their harvest. There's lots of peas forming on here now, so it's not going to be too long before we can enjoy them. This one's particularly long, Mrs. W, so...
Oh, let's have a quick look. I think that was the first one, wasn't it? Oh, yes,
yeah,
that is. That is looking amazing. Isn't it lovely? There's lots and lots of flowers, isn't there?
There is.
Since we've managed to stop the pigeons from pecking them off, anyway.
There is, and it's lovely because it is actually starting to make a tunnel, isn't it?
It is.
A green tunnel.
The canes are sort of it's like a little shawl over the top.
Yeah. A pea bonnet.
A pea bonnet, yes, yeah.
Flaming June, that's what they say. And it really has started off really nice and warm. It's about 23 degrees here today in our garden. And that's the warmest it's been this year so far. The back end of May and right at the beginning of June, we were seeing grey, leaden skies. Not a lot of rain, but just cold and grey, and the easterly wind was feeding in. We weren't overly keen on that, and neither were our vegetables. But actually, with a temperature of 23 degrees, I do have to say that easterly breeze that does keep coming in every now and again is really, really most welcome. Now, June is one of those months where the focus suddenly turns to harvesting. All of the hard work that we've been doing since January and February this year, that's now starting to pay off. The ones that were overwintered, they're all finished now, they've gone. And you saw, you've been watching over the last 2 or 3 videos, we've harvested some garlic from the greenhouse, we've harvested shallots. We're steadily working our way through our first new potatoes. They're looking really good, and when we harvest them, they're just the right size. Oh, absolutely gorgeous.
The right flavour too.
The right flavour. This is the thing, Mrs. W. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Now, there's still some things that are left to sow, especially if, like us, you're going to ensure that you still have things to harvest during the autumn and winter period. One of the first things that we need to do this month is to sow our purple sprouting broccoli, and that will be transplanted next month in the month of July. And we're going to do the same varieties again. We're going to be doing Rudolph and Claret. It really seemed to work. Claret, that was the first time we'd grown that particular variety, and what a variety it is. The harvest is just so prolific, it's untrue. But it was also good to have the Rudolph, because they're ready for our harvest round about the end of December and going into January and February. And the more choice we can give ourselves, I think that's the one learning that myself and Mrs. W have taken from our succession plantings of last year. The more variety we can give ourselves, the better. Whereas if you only have the purple sprouting broccoli, you know, as lovely as it is, you can start to get fed up eating it. So, hopefully this year we'll have much more in the way of cabbage and cauliflower that we can be eating through the months of January, February, March and April. So that's the broccoli, the sprouting broccoli. This is the month to sow that. Also, beetroot. This beetroot is ready for a harvest. We're twisting out the larger ones as and when we want them. But now is the time to be sowing the next generation of your beetroot, and then getting them out into their final positions next month, and then you can let those grow away and they'll get to a nice big size by the time we get to autumn, October, November time. They store really well too, so it's a great thing to be sowing more of your beetroot. Now is the time to be doing your succession sowing of your cabbages and your calabrese. And then you'll have some more that will be ready in September and October. As well as your cabbages and your calabrese and your cauliflower, another brassica that can be sown this month is swede. Yeah. We tend to sow our swede right at the beginning of the month, so we've already done ours. It's already been sown, but it's not too late for you to sow now. So long as they're sown this month, then they have plenty of time to grow along and get nice and big for when you want them, the end of October and going into November, for those lovely, hearty winter casseroles and stews that you want to cook. Or as in Mrs. W's case, some cheesy swede. Also, you can be sowing some more kale. We actually sowed some kale right at the back end of last month, but going into June, still a good time to be sowing your kale, and you're going to be harvesting that. Then it'll give you regular harvest from September all the way through the rest of the year, and indeed into next year. You also remember, you've seen that we planted out some turnips. June and July, if you start sowing turnip seed and then getting them out into your garden 4 weeks after they've germinated, then you'll have turnips ready for you for the autumn and early winter period. So another great thing to be sowing during the month of June. Now we're enjoying the taste of summer with these lovely summer carrots. We're not letting them get too big because they're so lovely and tasty and sweet. But the summer solstice will happen this month on the 21st of June. That's a great date to be sowing your carrots for your autumn and winter harvest. We're sowing a variety called Eskimo. We've sown that now for the last 3 years now, I think. It's a great variety. It holds really well in the ground and it grows lovely big carrots. These are the next generation of spring onions, and I'm now getting ready to pop these into the ground. But you also want to be sowing the next lot now, because these are 6 to 8 weeks away from when we'll be harvesting them. So another thing to sow during the month of June is your next lot of spring onions. And indeed, if like us you like the taste of spring onion, and we do, just keep continually sowing them. Every 4 weeks, just keep sowing them. I tend to do them at the start of every month, and just sow some, as I say, at the start of every month, right up to the month of August. Now you saw in the last video that we actually planted out our cabbages, romanesco and cauliflowers that we are going to be looking to eat in September. We also have other things that we've sown. There is still some planting out to do during the month of June, and you can see for us thus far we have some rainbow chard, Cavolo Nero kale, some kohlrabi, and some curly kale. And a lot of these plants now are actually getting ready to the stage where we can now pop them into the ground. But then comes the really great time. It's harvest time. It's time to begin harvesting things. The broad beans are looking amazing. And during this month, they're ready to eat. Look at those, Mrs. W.
Oh, they're nice ones, aren't they?
Oh, aren't they just?
Yeah, one for you, one for me. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Broad beans. They're ready to be harvested this month. How lovely. We've already seen with the flowers that are on the peas, and we've already got pods forming. So your peas, they're going to be ready to harvest during the month of June. But as I say, it's your beetroot, and if you like us and you do multi-sow, but if you don't, you must have some this size already, but we like to multi-sow ours.
Oh, that's a nice size, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lovely beetroot, which we can enjoy. The leaves are very edible too, aren't they, Mrs. W?
Yeah, I pop them into salads and stir fries and things.
Oh, yes. Now, we sowed these brassicas back in mid-February, and oh, Mrs. W.
Good cabbage.
Oh, that is a really good cabbage heart, that is.
Oh yeah, that's looking lovely, isn't it?
And if they're not ready for harvesting now, they're actually becoming ready for their harvest.
So were those 3 Savoy King?
Yes, they were Savoy King, yes.
So they're the earliest ones for us then, because these other 3 are the Providence, aren't they?
They are the Providence, but you can see that they're turning in and they're starting to form their heart.
Yes. They're a different colour too. They're sort of more of a bluey green than the Savoy King.
They certainly are.
Yeah. And they look like they might be a bit more crinkly as well.
Yeah. But, so we're ready for a harvest mid-month, later month. You know, I've sown these at various different times. They, some were sown mid-February, some were sown towards the end of February, so that they harvest at different times. But you can see here that this one, it's probably its prime time for harvest. You can see there's some yellow specks that you can start to see coming through. Once you start to see those appear, this will start to rise and it will go over. It won't taste as good, it won't be as good. And in lots of ways, although you hear lots of people saying, oh, I grew these monster cauliflowers or cabbages or broccoli, that's not really what counts. It's the taste and whether something is ready. Sometimes, just so that you can enjoy this, it's best to harvest this as it is now. The others can continue to grow on. If you wait for them all to get large, then, in this row there would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there'd be 7 big heads, and you're thinking, right, where are we going to ever eat these? So it's actually quite good to begin your harvest early and not leave them all to mature at the same time. And of course, while you're waiting for the others to mature, this particular one, which I'm going to take the head from, that's got some chance to send out some lovely side shoots. I don't need to clear this bed until I need it, and that's probably not going to be until the end of June, beginning of July, for its next plantings to go in. Myself and Mrs. W are having a lovely stir fry tonight, and this broccoli really does make a lovely, lovely thing to stir fry. So let's have the head, Mrs. W.
looks
Look at that,
lovely,
look.
doesn't it?
And you can see what I mean here. Look, you see, if you can get in close. If you let that go for too much longer, they're going to open up and flower, and they won't taste as nice.
The leaves on that are edible as well, aren't they?
They are, yes, they are. You often use the leaves, don't you?
I do.
And
I don't like to waste much.
no, they will go in with that stir fry too. And it's the same with this at the bottom here. Look how soft that is. All of that can be eaten. You don't need to waste the stalk. Now, what I hadn't noticed, well, I was cutting that head basically because this leaf was in the way, but actually it's already started to give us a secondary harvest. Look, from this plant, there's another one that's coming up from the base of the plant. So you now know that you can be harvesting your new potatoes. Calabrese heads to be harvested. We've also got a beetroot, but also your carrots. And we really love the taste of a fresh, sweet carrot. And really all we're doing is we're thinning these really. They can grow on to get a little bigger, but oh, the taste of these are just amazing. And again, for our lovely stir fry tonight, Mrs. W, lots to enjoy. And all you're doing is just making room for the others to be able to grow. So there's some lovely carrots for our harvest, Mrs. W.
Superb.
And of course, always remember to put the cover back on, because the carrot root fly really does love your carrots. And they say they can smell the carrot foliage that will have just bruised by picking these from over a mile away. So always remember to take any leaves that have come off. In our case, we'll get them on the compost heap, which is a long way from where our carrots are actually growing. Also, during the month of June, things like shallots and garlic will start to become ready, that you're growing outdoors. Sometimes it might take until the beginning of July, but for us, and by experience of how we've grown things over the years in this garden, we normally start to see them ready right at the very end of June. However, this is what they will look like when they're ready for you to pick. You can leave them a bit longer if you wish, so that all the foliage goes a yellowy colour. But in all honesty, once they've fallen over, they're ready. They're not going to do a huge amount, if any, more growing. So you can harvest these. Look at those, Mrs. W.
Lovely.
This is a new variety to us. This is Longor.
Oh, these are the Longor, are they?
Yeah, these are Longor. Because we put the Jumeau over in the greenhouse.
We did, yeah, that's right.
But we put the Longor. There you go, shallot Longor.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go, we have some lovely shallots. And I think this is the real beauty of what we managed to do last year, which was to get things planted into our polytunnel and our greenhouse to grow over the winter period. These are ready a full 3 to 4 weeks earlier than the ones outside. So you can still either save these if that's what you want to do, or you can eat them nice and fresh now, which is what we intend to do. The ones that are outside will be the ones that we actually ultimately save.
Gosh, how many is on that clump?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
9 from one bulb.
9 from one bulb, Mrs. W.
A very good value crop, I think.
Oh yes. And of course, what that does mean now is that it's now opening up this ground now, ready for this to be planted up with its tomatoes and cucumbers. You saw in the last video where we'd planted up the greenhouse. Well, now this can be done now because these have been harvested.
Gosh, there's quite a lot there for the small little space, don't you?
It's a lot of oniony taste there, isn't it, Mrs. W?
It certainly is.
So we'll go and put those with the others, shall we?
Yes, definitely.
I haven't counted Mrs. W, but there's certainly several there for us to be able to enjoy.
Beautiful.
As I say, some we will use now, some that we don't, they will be kept under here, and they'll join the ones that came out of the greenhouse last week, and they can begin their curing process so that we can enjoy them certainly for the rest of this year and well into next year. Shallots really are a great value crop, not least for the amount they give you for the space they take, but they actually last longer than onions. And I don't think we finished ours, and I think they've still been okay now. It's just that last year, for what we grew, we finished those sort of back end of May. No, back end of April, wasn't it?
Yes.
And so if we'd have grown a few more plants, could well have been the case that we'd have still had some now to eat, because they really do store really, really well. In the same way as the garlic, you can see the garlic here that we harvested last week from the greenhouse. That's under here beginning its curing process. You actually took the last of our garlic out, was it yesterday or the day before? And there's still
Yesterday.
what?
About six
Cloves, isn't
bulbs,
there?
I think.
Bulbs,
Yeah,
sorry,
bulbs,
yeah, six bulbs. 2 or 3 we need to throw away. They had gone a bit soft, hadn't
Yeah.
they? And that's what you will find at this time of the year, is that now they're starting to go a bit soft and they get a bit green in the centre, but you can still eat them, still great food. And yeah, we certainly enjoyed the taste of that with our chicken breast last night, didn't we?
We did. I think with what I've got left, I'm just going to sort of chop it up with a bit of parsley and add it into some butter, and then just pop it into the freezer in little blocks.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it won't be wasted.
Now in plot 5, we have similar things growing to what you saw down in plot 1. We've got brassicas in here. The only difference with this one is that we have cauliflowers that are in here, and they're all twisted themselves nice and tight, so we'll see our harvest of our summer cauliflower happen toward the end of this month of June. It's also really important during the month of June that you now keep brassicas covered, or spray with the appropriate spray to keep the caterpillars off. When we walked out of this garden this morning at about 9:15, 9 o'clock, we could see the white butterflies flying around, couldn't we? And today is the 10th of June.
Yeah.
It's the 10th of June today, so they've arrived. Not in huge numbers yet, but they've arrived. Now, in all honesty, if the covers sort of came off these, they're not going to do too much damage, because by the time the eggs are laid and they've hatched, we'll be harvesting these. But certainly for the next generation of brassicas that you're now going to put into the ground to succeed, like the ones that we have in plot 4. They're only that big. They got a lot of growing to do as yet before we can harvest them. So do make sure you keep those covered. Really, really important. Another thing for the month of June is that it can be one of the driest months of the year. And bearing in mind, I guess most of you are probably like us, we haven't really seen any meaningful rain since the end of April. This ground is starting to get dry. So when appropriate, do give your plants a water to help them on. Don't let them struggle on days like this when it's really, really hot. Which reminds me, we're going to be making a video, well, we're in the middle of making it, about when we water things and how we go about watering things. So do keep an eye out for that. And if you want to see that and you're not subscribed to our channel, then don't forget to do so. And of course, the notifications so that you know each and every time we upload a video. And of course, just because the sun is shining and we're all enjoying ourselves, plants are growing well, we are really enjoying life. So are the weeds. So do keep on top of your weeds during the month of June. Here's one here, look. So we've got that one out. Can't choke the onions anymore, because that's exactly what will happen if you don't keep on top of the weeds. We've found a really lovely shady spot here, haven't we, Poppy? And we do need it. It has been really quite a warm day today. That breeze is most welcome. So as you can see, there's still some seeds that we can be sowing in June. And they are all for successional plantings, so that you've got things to eat later in the year and also into next year. We didn't take a look at the cold frame today, but in there are our leeks and the sprouts. They too shall be planted out during the month of June. And of course it goes without saying that continually keep sowing your lettuce, your radishes and your spring onions all the way through June, through July and through to August, so that you can continue those lovely salad tastes through the great days of summer. Now the greenhouse, as you know, has all been planted up, and normally I would include as a harvest some tomatoes during June. I don't think we're quite going to see any tomatoes in June, because our plants have only just gone into the ground due to the really cold overnight temperatures that we're experiencing during the month of May. But for some of you lucky people out there where you haven't had the same conditions as us, you are going to be enjoying the lovely taste of tomatoes. Now, do let us know in the comments down below the things you're harvesting now and those things that you are hoping and expecting to harvest during the month of June. And we shall see you next time.